In this session, we'll look into the hybrid approaches and agile again on traditional waterfall predictive models. So, project management approaches defines how the project work is planned, executed, and controlled. So, choosing the right approach is essential because some projects requires a strict structure and upfront planning, such as constructions and regulatory projects. While also other projects needs the flexibility and adaptability, such as software development projects and innovation projects. Many organization blends agile and waterfall elements, adopting a hybrid approach. PMI's project management body of knowledge or the PIM book supports customizing these methodologies based on the project complexity and risks and stakeholder needs. And to start again with recapping what were the key characteristics of the waterfall or the predictive approach. So, waterfall approach here follows a linear or the sequential process with defined stages, where it starts with requirements gathering and then design or planning and then implementation, which is execution, testing, part of the monitoring and controlling, and deployment, which releasing the final service to or software or service to the end users or the stakeholders. Finally, by having strict maintenance. So the advantages of utilizing or using the waterfall or predictive approach here. The clear scope and timeline is defined upfront. Also, one of these advantages of following or utilizing the waterfall or predictive approach is having an easier documentation and regulatory compliance. It's well suited for the predictable projects with minimal changes. However, waterfall comes with some limitations, such as the high rigidity because of the difficulty in adapting the changes, also late testing and feedback, which increase the failure risks. Finally, the long lead time before delivering the value to the stakeholders. So these are, let's say, the common, uh, let's say, characteristics of the waterfall approach. Next, let's see agile. So agile follows an iterative model where the work is completed in short cycles, which we call it sprints, enabling continuous delivery of value and a frequent stakeholder feedback for improvements and flexibility in responding to changes. And some of these advantages of using agile, including a faster to market, let's say, development with incremental releases, also a greater stakeholder involvement and satisfaction by keeping the stakeholders involved, as well as it has a reduced risks through early issue detection. Some of these limitation or challenges with agile, including it requires dedicated cross-functional teams. Also, it's difficult to apply in high regulated industries. And again, when it comes to compare these key differences between agile and waterfall, we looked at some of these key aspects, includes the scope, the schedule, the cost, and risks, which is the key constraints of any of the projects. So, in terms of scope, we say the waterfall approach scope here is fixed at the start. So, you define the scope and you, let's say, in case if there's any changes that it need to be implemented, and then you need to follow the change control process by implementing a change request. When it comes to agile in terms of scope in agile is more flexible, which because it evolves over the time. When it's come to schedule in the waterfall, the schedule here is strict and predefined. In the agile, on the other hand, the schedule is iterative with changing priorities. The cost on the waterfall or predictive approaches or methodology, the cost here is defined in advance by aggregating, if you recall, all of the WBS activities. You set all of these contingency plan to handle these risks, and then you come up with the cost of the project or the budget. When it comes to agile, the agile costs, it's adjusted based on the changing needs. Finally, when we talk about risks, when it comes to risks, the risks in waterfall is managed mostly at the project initiation and planning. On the other hand, agile, the risks are managed continuously through the iteration. So PMI suggests evaluating the project complexity, certainty, and the industry demands before choosing between agile and waterfall. The hybrid approach, as a third approach here, we have by combining agile and waterfall. Hybrid approaches combines the agile flexibility with waterfall structure, making them ideal for let's say large organizations needs the stability but also agility. Also, it's ideal for projects with regulatory constraints requiring strict planning. Industries like banking and healthcare and aerospace can utilize these, let's say, hybrid approach to ensure getting the benefit of the stability and also the agility or the change. So PMI disciplined agile framework provides a tailored decision-making guidance for applying the hybrid models based on the project complexity. Question: when to use waterfall, agile, or hybrid approaches? So use waterfall when scope, cost, and timeline must be fixed. Also, when there's a compliance-heavy project which requires a rigid documentation, then go with waterfall. When to use agile? So you can use agile when there is a customer needs which keeps evolving, which requires a continuous feedback. Also, when there is a speed and innovation, which is key requirements and key competitive factors. Finally, when to use hybrid. So you can use hybrid when some of, let's say, some project components, let's say, requires a strict planning, while also the other needs the flexibility. The PMI recommendation on hybrid approaches. So PMI encourages organizations to be flexible in their methodology choices, promoting a tailored hybrid solutions that aligns with the business objectives, stakeholder needs, and regulatory constraints. What are these challenges that you might face when implementing hybrid approaches? So the common challenges that you might face includes the conflicting mindset between agile and waterfall team. Also, difficulty in measuring agile success within waterfall constraints. Finally, the integration complexity in large enterprises. And the solution to overcome some of these challenges uh, by, let's say, having agile waterfall alignment workshop. By conducting these workshops, you ensures that the teams are aligned between how the waterfall, let's say, processes and how it deliver the value the same as agile. Also, one of these important solution is to have a clear governance framework where everyone is, let's say, aware of these frameworks, what are their benefits, how they can be utilized, as well as the PMI discipline agile training for teams. And by training the teams by conducting, let's say, these workshops, by having a clear governance framework, can overcome some of these challenges. Includes the let's say documentation versus adaptability, the also the organizational resistance to hybrid model, and managing the cross-functional teams in hybrid settings. And to summarize our session here, we talked about when to use the waterfall. We looked at the key characteristics of the waterfall. Same thing for agile. We looked at how to use hybrid approaches. What are the best, let's say, practices and the challenges that you might face and how to overcome. We also talked about how PMI evolving guidance on these blended methodologies based on the project complexity, uncertainties, and the stakeholder needs.